Kelechi Tejiri. Here are our top stories. Federal government insists Tinubu fair to all regions, says Northwest tops infrastructure list. Federal government targets nomads education to boost livestock agriculture sectors. 2027, pro-Tinubu group backs president, hails economic stability and security strides. Ishekiri endorses Supreme Court ruling, rejects INEC ward delineation, alleges conspiracy. Arrest of Nigerian rape convict in US sparks deportation calls. Deadline drama, Isaac on verge of record Liverpool move. Now to the news in full. The federal government has dismissed claims that President Bola Tinubu is favoring certain regions of the country in project distribution and appointments. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says the administration remains committed to fairness, justice, and equity in governance. In a report released on Sunday, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, described insinuations of regional bias as half-truths and fake information. He maintained that President Tinubu has been fair to all regions, citing key infrastructure projects such as the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and the Badagry-Sokoto Highway as evidence of balanced development. The distribution of capital projects under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is equitable. No region is playing second fiddle or ignored. The minister noted that the Northwest has emerged the biggest beneficiary of federal infrastructure projects, with secured funding for light rail systems in Kano and Kaduna worth over 250 billion naira. He added that ongoing works on highways, bridges, rail and power projects across all 6 geopolitical zones reaffirmed the administration's commitment to national development. The federal government insists that under President Tinubu, no region has been sidelined and that every part of the country is benefiting from the administration's renewed infrastructure drive. The federal government says its new education intervention for nomadic communities will not only address the out-of-school children crisis, but also strengthen Nigeria's livestock and cropping value chains. Special Advisor to the Minister of Education on Out-of-School Children, Balarabe Shehu Kakale, disclosed this in an interview. According to Shehu Kakale, the ministry has embarked on a nationwide census to identify and document out-of-school nomads and other disadvantaged groups. The 6-phase survey, piloted in July 2025, will profile nomadic children, geolocate their communities, and determine where new learning centers or teachers are needed for targeted interventions. This intervention will not only enroll nomadic children in functional schools, but also create positive ripple effects for livestock and cropping value chains. Key partners in the project include the National Commission for Nomadic Education, UBEC, the National Identity Management Commission, and the National Bureau of Statistics. The Ministry of Education also plans to collaborate with the Almajiri Education Commission and the Mass Literacy Commission to expand reach and ensure sustainability. The government says resettling semi-nomadic populations and enrolling their children in basic schools will help bridge educational gaps while boosting Nigeria's food and livestock productivity. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NAD, has issued a fresh 10-day strike ultimatum to the federal government, warning of an imminent nationwide shutdown of its outstanding demands if its outstanding demands are not met. In a communique signed by its leadership after an emergency NEC meeting, the association expressed disappointment over government's failure to fulfill promises despite previous ultimatums and extensions. Among their grievances are unpaid 2025 Medical Residency Training Fund, 5 months arrears from the CONMES salary review, non-payment of the 2024 accruement allowance, and delays in issuing postgraduate certificates. NARD further criticized the Kaduna and Oyo state governments for failing to resolve welfare issues affecting their members, insisting that all state governors must prioritize doctors' welfare to curb brain drain and maintain industrial harmony. The association has given governments 10 days to act or face a nationwide strike that could cripple the health sector. You're watching our daily news roundup. We'll go for a quick break. More news stories when we return.
Don't miss out on exciting news, events, and more. Stay connected by following us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Atlantic Media and TV.
Welcome back. A political support group, BTO, for PBAT 2027 has reaffirmed its commitment to securing the re-election of President Bola Tinubu, praising his administration for stabilizing the economy and tackling security challenges. The group, convened by Ogbeni Adojutelegan Adesuyi and led by Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, says it will work to make Ondo State a stronghold for the president in the 2027 general elections. Speaking to newsmen, the convener emphasized that Tinubu's administration is laying a solid framework for long-term prosperity under the Renewed Hope agenda. He added that policies on security and economic reforms are already yielding results. The group insisted that President Tinubu has demonstrated the capacity, courage, and vision to reposition Nigeria, noting that his track record remains a testament to enduring statesmanship. The political atmosphere in Ekiti State is heating up again ahead of the 2026 governorship election. The African Democratic Congress (ADC) and the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) are trading accusations over alleged politically motivated violence and intimidation. The ADC chairman in Ekiti State, Ilesami Omolayo, accused the APC of desperation, warning that the ruling party was pushing the state towards chaos. He alleged that armed thugs disrupted the party meeting in Ikere, Ekiti, leaving several injured and property destroyed. But the APC's publicity secretary, Shegun Dipe, dismissed the claims as baseless, describing the ADC as attention seekers and insisting the APC remains peaceful and formidable on ground. The back and forth has raised fresh concerns about political tension in Ekiti State as stakeholders continue to warn against violence that could derail preparations for the 2026 polls. Omolayo called on security agencies, INEC, civil society, and traditional rulers to step in to prevent further violence, describing the attacks as an attempt to silence opposition voices. He stressed that the ADC represents a credible alternative built on peace, inclusiveness, and development. As the war of words intensifies, all eyes be on security agencies to ensure that Ekiti's democratic process is protected from intimidation and unrest. In response, Dipe maintained that Governor Biodun Oyebanji's administration had no need to sponsor violence, urging opposition parties to follow due process by notifying police before holding gatherings. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has issued a strong warning to the People's Democratic Party, PDP, against moves to reintegrate former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi into the party. Speaking during a media chat on Monday, Wike said the PDP was yet to learn from the mistakes that cost it the 2023 elections. He recalled how party leaders ignored repeated advice not to field both a presidential candidate and a national chairman from the North, calling the decision unjust, politically suicidal, and a major factor in the party's defeat. Wike stated clearly, "From day one, I told my colleagues, PDP, you are shooting yourself. If you allow what is going on to continue, you'll pay," he said. The former Rivers governor stressed that any attempt to bring Obi back would deepen the crisis within the PDP ahead of the 2027 general elections. We'll go for yet another short break. When we return, more stories on the business front.
My name is Desoka, the comedy catalyst of one of Nigerian comedy.
All right, guys, back again. Yes, boss. My name is Osh, baby.
Yemi Alade.
Yeah, what up, people? It's your boy Victor AD.
Girl Ninyola.
My name is my wife, not just celebrity type man.
My papa say, who won't carry cow, waka go, waka follow the cow. I know the lie for you.
I see you know you're watching the Atlantic TV.
Keep watching Atlantic TV.
Atlantic TV. Keep watching Atlantic TV.
Keep watching Atlantic TV.
Keep watching Atlantic TV.
Atlantic TV.
Informative, educative, interesting, entertaining.
Worldwide, international.
Don't go anywhere, I'll catch you.
Don't touch that die. Atlantic TV. Boom.
Atlantic TV. We wanna party.
Atlantic TV. Culturally inclined and uniquely different.
Welcome back. Now to some business stories. The Nigerian exchange closed the week on a bearish note, with equities losing a staggering 439 billion naira in market value as investors' sentiment remained weak. Figures from the NGX show that market capitalization dropped by 0.49%, closing at 88.769 trillion naira, down from 89.208 trillion naira in the previous week. Similarly, the all share index declined by 0.50% to settle at 140,295.50 points, compared to 141,002.76 points posted the week before. The weekly market report also revealed lower trading activity compared with the previous week. Investors exchanged 3.199 billion shares worth 85.399 billion naira in 142,477 deals, compared to 4.773 billion shares valued at 107.426 billion naira in the prior week. The financial services industry maintained dominance, contributing 68.61% of total equity volume and 49.99% of value. The top three traded equities by volume were FCMB Group, Champion Breweries, and Access Holdings, accounting for over 778 million shares worth 13.15 billion naira. Meanwhile, only 32 equities gained, while 57 declined and another 57 closed flat, underscoring a difficult week for the stock market. Analysts warn that continued bearish sentiment could deepen losses if investor confidence is not restored. It was a tough first quarter for cable manufacturer Kutix plc as the company posted a sharp decline in profit. Figures from its unaudited financials show an 81% slump in profit after tax, dropping from over 306 million naira in 2024 to just 56.9 million naira this year. Despite the drop in earnings, revenue remained flat at 3.52 billion naira, while rising costs and higher finance expenses dragged profitability. The company's total assets climbed 34% to 10.68 billion naira, but liabilities also surged 73% to 10.68 billion naira, but liabilities also surged 73% to 6.44 billion naira. Kutix operating profits dropped to 275.9 million naira, while profits before tax crashed to 86.2 million naira down from 454.7 million naira a year ago. Finance cost more than doubled to 190.8 million naira, significantly weighing on the bottom line. The company's capital expenditure, however, jumped more than 1,100% to 193.8 million naira as it invested in new plant, equipment, and technology. Paid-up share capital doubled to 3.52 billion naira, while its share price slipped 24%, closing the quarter at 390 kobo per share. Kutix says it remains focused on strategic investments to drive long-term growth, even as it battles rising costs and weaker profitability in the near term. Away from business now, the Delta State government has dismissed as false and misleading allegations by Zik Gbemre, who described himself as coordinator of the Niger Delta Peace Coalition. Gbemre had accused Governor Sheriff Oborevwori of fueling ethnic conflict in Warri and politicizing sensitive community matters. In a statement signed by the Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads and Public Information, Charles Aniago, the government described the allegations as a campaign of calumny that does not reflect Governor Oborevwori's track record of peace and inclusivity. The statement emphasized that since assuming office, the governor had prioritized peaceful coexistence among all ethnic groups, particularly in Warri and its environs. His Excellency has consistently engaged traditional rulers and stakeholders to ensure the dark days of ethnic strife never return to Delta State. Anyago stressed that Governor Oborevwori has not endorsed or supported any act that threatens peace, but has maintained neutrality and fairness in all community matters. He disclosed that security agencies have been directed to investigate recent acts of vandalism and/or provocation in Warri, while urging community leaders, youth groups, and civil society to shun inflammatory rhetoric. The government reaffirmed that Governor Oborevwori remains committed to promoting peace, unity, and development across Delta, saying he will not be distracted by unfounded allegations. The Ishakiri Nation has endorsed the recent Supreme Court ruling on constituency redelineation, but strongly rejected the Independent National Electoral Commission's ward delineation exercise, describing it as a conspiracy against their ancestral rights in Warri. In a statement issued on Monday, the Ishakiri accused INEC, alongside neighboring Urobo and Ijaw communities, of deliberately manipulating electoral boundaries to erode their historical claim over Warri, which they say has been their homeland since the 15th century. They argue that while INEC originally recognized 10 wards, 8 for Ishakiri and 2 for Urobo, the structure was later altered to 12 wards, giving Urobo equal representation with the Ishakiri. The group insists this was declared illegal by a court, but continues to be enforced in elections since 2003. The Ishakiri also faulted the INEC's recent process, alleging that they were excluded from consultations, while Ijaw officials were placed in supervisory roles, raising fears of bias.
As a law-abiding ethnic nationality, we are not against the execution of the Supreme Court order on the redelineation of the Warri Federal Constituency. Number 2, we reject the bias and illegality associated with INEC execution of the said judgment. The technical sessions have shown that the coordinates of the polling units and wards created by INEC do not correspond with the actual locations on ground. We call on the federal government to set up an independent commission of inquiry to probe the actions of INEC on the redelineation exercise that created phantom polling units and wards in the Warri Federal Constituency. That's number 3. Number 4, at the end of the commission of inquiry, INEC officials and other public office holders found culpable in the INEC charade regarded as polling units and ward redelineation in Warri Federal Constituency should be appropriately punished to act as deterrent to others with intention for similar course of action. Fifth and finally, we also demand the immediate implementation of all judicial decisions in the Warri Federal Constituency, including the Court of Appeal judgment on the 10-ward structure of the Warri South local government. If the federal government is able to do all of this for us, we believe that justice would have been served.
The ethnic group further dismissed claims that a 1974 Supreme Court ruling granted Urhobo ownership of Warri, clarifying that the case only involved a land dispute between two Ishekiri families in Okere. While pledging commitment to peace, the Ishekiri warned against continued marginalization, framing that their stance as a struggle for truth, justice, and the preservation of their history. You're watching our daily news roundup. We'll go for yet another short break. When we return, more news stories on the international level.
Don't miss out on exciting news, events, and more. Stay connected by following us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Atlantic Media and TV.
Now to the United States. The arrest of a U.S.-based Nigerian, Theophilus Anwana, a convicted rapist, has intensified calls among Americans for the mass deportation of criminal migrants. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement announced his re-arrest on August 29th, stating that he will remain in custody pending deportation. On social media, several U.S. citizens hailed ICE for the arrest, while demanding tougher actions. One user tweeted, "This is good, but 1 or 2 arrests aren't enough. We need at least 20 cases per day." Others insisting that illegal immigrants with criminal records should have no place in the country. ICE emphasized that the arrest underscored commitment to removing dangerous criminal aliens from American communities. Anwana, who was convicted of second-degree rape in Maryland and sentenced to 20 years in prison, had been under a final order of removal since September 2021, but remained in the United States. And now to sports news. It's transfer deadline day, and the biggest story is unfolding at Anfield. Sweden striker Alexander Isak is on the brink of a British record £125 million move from Newcastle to Liverpool. Isak's deal headlines a frantic final day of the Premier League transfer window. Newcastle are closing in on Brentford's Yohan Wissa, while Manchester City are set to land PSG goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma. Struggling Manchester United have also agreed a deal for Belgian goalkeeper Sven Lemens from Royal Antwerp. Back at Anfield, the signing of Isak would mark Liverpool's 8th major arrival this summer, pushing their spending to a staggering £416 million. It also follows their club record signing of Florian Wirtz just weeks ago. With the clock ticking towards the 6 p.m. deadline, fans are braced for one of the most dramatic finishes to a Premier League transfer window in recent years. The 25-year-old, who netted 27 goals last season, has made it clear he wants to leave Newcastle despite having 3 years left on his contract. He arrived at Liverpool's training ground earlier today as negotiations enter the final stretch. Relief for Bayern Munich fans as Canadian left-back Alphonso Davies is back in training 5 months after tearing his ACL on international duty. Davies, who also captains Canada, signed a contract extension until 2030 earlier this year. Meanwhile, Bayern's Jamal Musiala faces a much longer road back after a broken ankle, ruling him out until 2026. Defender Hiroki Ito is targeting a comeback before the year ends. Davies' return offers Bayern and Canada a huge boost as he looks set to reclaim his place in the squad this autumn. The 24-year-old suffered the injury in March against the United States, but has now resumed ball work in Munich. He is expected to return to full action for Bayern this October. And with that sports news, we come to the end of our daily news roundup for today, right here on Atlantic TV. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms for more updates. Thank you so much for watching. I am Nkechi Tejere. Have a good day.